Hey guys, it's Audra and welcome back to 365 Projects. I am here today with my June wrap up. Now, excuse the fact that I don't have my makeup all done up like I normally do. I was feeling lazy, didn't want to do it, and decided to wear glasses to cover up the fact that my eyebrows are basically not there. But also, I need to get this wrap up done really quick so I had time to head to the library to return some books that are overdue because yeah, I'm the most irresponsible librarian when it comes to overdue books at the public library. But anyways, let's just get into it. I have read the most books this past month that I have all year, which kind of makes sense since I'm on summer vacation from teaching. And so I read 13 books total. I have everything from a 2-star, which normally doesn't happen, and then a whole bunch of 5-stars. So it was a great month. There were a lot of readathons. I did the Cramathon and the Libraryathon readathon. I'll leave all that stuff down below if you want to check it out. And I'll probably refer to it along the way. So since there are so many books to talk about, I'm going to just briefly touch on what they're about and then my opinions of why I gave them certain star ratings. So let's just get into it. The first book that I read for the month was also my lowest rated book for Libraryathon, and it was In Real Life. I don't even recall who the author was. Kind of sad to say. But I read this in 45 minutes because it was a graphic novel. I did choose it because it was outside my comfort zone for one of the challenges. And it was just kind of that, like, it went completely over my head in terms of this girl playing video games and, like, the people on the other side of the game in a different country, and, like, she's trying to save this person's life by, I think, like, child labor laws. It was just a little bit too much and not my style. So I did give it a 2 stars because, as you can tell, I don't remember and it didn't really stick with me. The next book I read, it was 2.5 stars, and it was such a disappointment because I really, really wanted to love it. And that one was Time Was by Ian MacDonald. Everything about this, for the most part, just told me that I was going to love it. It was set in World War II. It's a male-male romance. The part that didn't like really mesh with me was the time traveling, which was what I chose for, once again, out of my comfort zone for the Cramathon challenge. It is a short book. I've heard a lot of feedback that kind of felt the same way that I did, and that it's not what at all you expected. I think it focused more on the people in present day than the people in the past during World War II that I hoped it would focus on. So it's all based around this book of poetry and like how it connects these two men back in World War II and their relationship, how they hide their relationship, who finds this book of poetry in the future, all that kind of stuff. To me, it was kind of predictable, I guess, by the ending, how everything was connected. And it just didn't really mesh well, didn't flow well. Maybe it's just because of the size of the book, I don't know. Once again, it was a disappointment at a 2.5. My only 3-star book of the month goes to Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. I listened to this on audiobook. My favorite audiobook narrator, so if you're going to check out this book, go ahead and try out the audiobook because Bonnie Turpin is phenomenal, and I think I read like 3 or 4 audiobooks from her this month because, like I said, she's my fave. But I think the low star rating on this one is my own fault because, for the most part, something that I would be totally into. You have historical fiction during the Civil War. You have a lot of civil rights things going on because they ended the Civil War because a zombie apocalypse started. And so instead of now having slaves, these people are being trained to kill zombies. And so I enjoyed The Walking Dead a lot. So I thought I was going to really enjoy this book. Now, because of the readathons that happened back to back at the beginning of the month, I had to take a break from the audiobook because I had actually started at the end of last month. And I think that really broke into my understanding of the book, especially because another book that I chose, The Kitchen House, was kind of along the same lines with the whole slavery issue, as well as being narrated by the same person. So when I went back to the book, I couldn't recall a whole bunch. So it may be one that I revisit in the future, but for now I'm giving it a 3 stars. I know it's going to be a series, so I definitely want to reread it before the next book comes out. Moving on to my 4-star books, there were 4 of them, and the first one is The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. This is another one that I read for the majority on audiobook, and this is a biracial romance that happens by fluke, I guess. It's one of those like fake romance tropes in that a elevator stops working while she gets on it, and then he's also on it, and he's the doctor. And like they kind of get to know each other, and then he says, "Well, I'm going to my ex-girlfriend's wedding. My best friend is the groom. Would you be my wedding date?" And so, of course, they kind of get together from there. And it's how they have a long distance relationship, which I could really appreciate because I've done that myself. So you have a lot of them texting each other, you have a lot of them visiting each other, and kind of like miscommunications. The thing that didn't really seem realistic to me in that was that they saw each other every weekend. They flew to see each other every weekend, and that's not reality unless you are a doctor. So it was cute. It's definitely steamy and adult romance if you enjoy those kind of books. Her new one is coming out here in a couple months. I'm not sure if I'm going to pick it up yet. It's more of like a baseball romance, I think, but it might be interesting because this one was very well done. The next four-star book was Juliet Takes a Breath by Gabby Rivera. This one I picked for, I believe, LGBTQIA in Cramathon. I think that was the challenge. But this is one I've been wanting to get my hands on for a while because Cece and Adriana always talk about it, and the library that I just recently moved into had it on their shelves. I was like snatch it up so fast. This one is about a Puerto Rican lesbian who is obsessed with this book that's a feminist book and like idolizes the author. Well, she writes a letter to the author, and the author actually lets her come and intern in Oregon. So she leaves the Bronx, I believe, and goes to Oregon for the summer. And it's just kind of like all about a lot of different like heavy hit topics, but in a non-forceful way. I really liked how it was done in such a short manner. It talked about a lot of hard things. There was feminism, there was racism, white privilege, you had the use of weed, and just like knowing yourself as a being. There was just a lot of different things. Like I learned what a banana republic really was, and I had no idea. That kind of it's ignorant of me to say that, but I didn't. So I learned some things from this book, but like I said, not in a forceful way at all. And I really, really enjoyed it. Plot-wise, it kind of fell flat, but I can definitely see why so many people love this book. But it definitely was a 4-star for me. The next book that I finished that was 4-star was Words on Bathroom Walls. Now I've been working on this one for a couple months, 2 or 3 months now, as I've been like blow drying my hair, and since I haven't blow dried my hair, I've just been wearing it curly. It's taken me forever to get through because I had it as an ebook. This one is a point of view of a schizophrenic teenager, and he is like writing a journal entry to his therapist, who he doesn't speak to, he just writes to. And so it's all about like his journey on this medication that's supposed to make him better, or that's what he's been told, and like all of his different like personalities or people that he sees as part of his schizophrenia. And it was really interesting. I have never read a book from that point of view, and so it was great to see kind of how he grew and like how the people around him grew with him, like his parents, his girlfriend. I felt like it was like really on point with like teenage relationships and maybe how one would feel with going through this type of situation. I don't have personal experience, and so I can't really speak to it. I'm not sure if it's on Voices either, but I did enjoy the story and how it was told in the formatting, and so it's definitely a good one to check out if you want to read from a different point of view. The last 4-star book that I read was I Will Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. I read this for my book club with my new coworkers, and this is all about Michelle McNamara researching the Golden State Killer. It's so intriguing, like how little evidence there was. This is like the 70s and 80s. DNA was not a thing yet. And how they connected 50 rapes, 10 murders, like nobody was communicating with the police force in California. And so it wasn't until DNA and Michelle trying to figure out like all these different like killers they had named or like rapists they had named were actually the same person. And I think because of this book and her findings and where she said it was going to go at the end, they recently found this killer 2 months ago. And so this was just a very interesting read. It's nonfiction, different than everything else that I read this month. And I really, really enjoyed the journey. I would definitely pick it up if I were you, because it is quite addictive once you get started. This killer, obviously, is insane. Like the things that he, like the way I don't know, like obviously I'm trying to figure out the words put into it because it was just odd, very odd, the things that he did when he was attacking people. So definitely check this one out if you want something that's a little different, I guess. My 4.5-star book goes to Written in the Stars by Aisha Zaid. I believe is how you say her name. This one I picked up for Librariathon because it's one of Saj's favorites, and I really enjoyed this one. The first half, you think it's going to be pretty easygoing, and then there's a lot of trigger warnings for rape and abuse, so just know that in advance. This is about a Pakistani American girl who has known that she's not supposed to have a boyfriend at school and that her parents want to choose her future spouse, but she does it anyways and is found out. And instead of like grounding her like a normal parent, they take her back to Pakistan. And she stays there for essentially the summer. Well, it becomes a lot more than that. And there, like I said, there's a lot of things going on between the family, between her parents trying to find her a suitable husband, like all of that going around it. This was a great read. It was very short, very quick. And like Sajid had said in his videos, like you just keep wanting to read and read and read to figure out what happens next because it is so engaging. And lastly, I have 5 5-star books. I need to get going quicker. So here we go. This is The Sun is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. This is one that I also listened to on audiobook. It takes place in a day. It's a romance between 2 teenagers. One, I believe, is Korean American, and the other is Jamaican American, but they are immigrants that are being deported back to Jamaica, and obviously she's been here her whole life, and her dad does something that gets the family sent back, and it's how these 2 teenagers fall in love with the course of the day. Just the way it was set up, it was beautiful. Like, it was just a heartwarming read, and I cannot recommend this enough for a YA romance involving diverse characters. It was just amazing. The next one was one I had predicted a 5-star, and I was totally right. This is Far From a Tree. It is by Robin Benway, and this one is basically all about family. If you know me, you know that my family did foster care for 10 years. My youngest brother was adopted through foster care, so like books like this are hard-hitting for me. I didn't cry like I thought I would, but I got very, very close because I listened to it once again on audiobook. But you have 3 siblings that have the same mother. The two sisters were adopted to different families, and then the boy was kept into foster care. And so obviously you have a lot of different things going on. You have one sister that starts the search for her siblings because she found herself pregnant and had to give her baby up for adoption. The other sister is out as a lesbian in a family that she looks nothing alike, a bunch of redheads, and how she fits in. And then you have Jaquin, the boy, and I believe he's half black, and he's now struggling with, well, why wasn't I adopted? Why was I just given to the system? And it's how they come to know each other and if they decide to find their mother or not. And it was just a beautiful journey with beautiful characters. Once again, I feel like these characters are very real, and I cannot recommend this one enough. I think it might be my favorite for the year. Perhaps. We'll see. The next one I read that was 5-star was The Kiss Quotient. Now, I wasn't sure if it's going to get 5 stars, but I just keep like thinking back to this and how much I did enjoy it a lot. So this is a romance between a woman with Asperger's, and she wants to kind of be trained in how to have a real relationship because she really struggles with that. And so she hires an escort. Now, I guess I didn't understand going into it. I thought it was about an escort. So there's a lot of steamy time in this. But just the relationship between the 2 of them as it grows, how he understands her, his relationship with his family, that was amazingly done. I think the only thing that I really had an issue with was the fact that they had some like major PDA in front of his family, and maybe that's just my family. I don't know, like we didn't do that at all. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. That was the only thing that didn't seem like realistic to me, but other than that, I think it's a solid 5-star. 4.5, 5-star, I'm kind of still in between, but for now I'm giving it a 5-star because I saw that this was listed as number 1 in a series, and so I'm excited for the next one. And it may be a reread down the road, who knows, but this was an enjoyable read for sure. The next 5-star book was Autobiography by Christina Lauren. This one was a super cute male-male romance, and it is about a boy who goes into the seminar class on how to write a book in 4 months. And the person that comes into the room as kind of like the teaching assistant, the TA, has previously won the previous year's seminar, and his book is being published. And they start falling for each other, but the catch is that Sebastian, the man who won last year, he is Mormon, and like he cannot renounce his faith to become gay, and so it's a lot of internal struggle on how to be together without disappointing everybody else. And so I feel like the characters once again were really real. My heart went out to these kids, and as they were like trying to do what made them happy and not disappointing everyone else, which is very relatable. I mean, I feel like I'm still that way at 30 years old, so I can't imagine people going through those kind of situations. But I just enjoyed the audiobook once again. It was a great listen, and I fell in love with the characters, and you find yourself rooting for them, and it was just another one that you need to check out for sure. And my last 5-star book of the month was Kitchen House by Kathleen Grissom. This one is one that I've had on my TBR for years because people have always recommended it to me. There's a lot of trigger warnings on this one because it is set in a time of slavery. So obviously you have abuse, you have racism, you have rape, you have incest. There's just a whole lot of things running the gamut on this one. But you have 2 different points of view going throughout the story. You have a 7-year-old Irish girl who her parents were killed, and so she is still sent on the ship over here, and the plantation owner takes her in as like an indentured servant of sorts. And so she is actually a white girl on this plantation working in the kitchen house with the slaves. And so it's her point of view and how she grows up and becomes an adult. And then you also have the point of view of Belle, who was a slave, and she is actually the daughter of the plantation owner. And it's just kind of, once again, her story of who she is as a plantation owner's daughter that is kept a secret, but also like who she falls in love with, her siblings that may or may not know that she's existing. And it's just, there's a lot of impactful moments along the way. Like I found myself like gasping at times. Once again, told by my favorite audiobook narrator when I listened to it. So I did enjoy it. I gave it 5 stars, even though I have a hard time giving 5-star books or 5 stars to books that aren't own voices these days, but I still did because I think it did it very well over the course of history. I am also excited that there's, like, in the last year or 2, there's like a sequel to this about one of the characters, which is actually Belle's son. And so I'm going to be listening to that next, hopefully some point this month. So you might see that in my July wrap-up. So there you have it. Those are the 13 books that are in the month of June. I try to go as fast as possible, but there's obviously some of these books that I can just like rave about on and on even more, but I just will not. I'll let you figure out for yourself if those are books that you enjoy. Please let me know what you've read this month, if you've read any of these, and what your thoughts are. If you've read the sequel to any of these books, I would love to know what you think. I always find myself in like this rut of the first book is amazing, and the sequel just falls flat. And so I'm trying to find more series that I can get into. So I would love to hear if you have any recommendations for me on series that you would love that are phenomenal from start to finish. So anyways, until next time, I will see you later. Bye guys!